In our top story, President Akufo Addo has ordered an audit into the contract between the Ghana Revenue Authority and Strategic Mobilization Limited. The audit will be conducted by KPMG and is slated to last for 2 weeks. A press statement from the presidency issued by Communications Director Eugene Ahin outlines the president's specific terms of reference for the KPMG audit. President Akufo Addo further instructed the Ghana Revenue Authority and the Ministry of Finance to adhere to his directives and furnish KPMG with all necessary documentation for the upcoming audit. And we have the statement on your screens. Let's go through it. It says the President of the Republic, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo Addo, has appointed KPMG, the reputable audit, tax and advisory services firm, to conduct an immediate audit into the transaction between the Ghana Revenue Authority and Strategic Mobilization Ghana Limited. Now, the terms of reference of the audit are as follows. 1. Conduct an audit to ascertain the rationale or needs assessment performed prior to the contract approval by GRA and assess how the arrangement aligns with specific needs. Now, 2, it says assess the appropriateness of the contracting methodology, verifying compliance with legal standards and industry best practices in the procurement process for the selection of SML. And then also 3rd, evaluate the degree of alignment between current activities and the stipulated contract scope, identifying any deviations. Also evaluate the value or benefit that SML has so far offered to the GRA through this engagement. Then it also says review the financial arrangements, including pricing structures, payment terms, and resolution of any financial compliance issues, and submit a report on findings on the above together with appropriate recommendations. Now, President Akufo Addo has tasked KPMG, as we already said, to complete the assignment in 2 weeks and submit the appropriate recommendations to him, and further directing the Ministry of Finance and GRA to provide the audit firm with whatever assistance they will require for the conduct of the audit, and has also directed the Ministry of Finance and the Ghana Revenue Authority to suspend the performance of the contract pending the submission of the audit report, including any payments presently envisaged under its terms. Now let's bring you a recap of the SML controversy.
Comments follow a documentary titled The 3 Billion Cedi Lie by the Fourth Estate, alleging that the Finance Ministry ordered an expansion of the SML contract for 10 years, estimating it could yield the company $100 million annually. The documentary also claims that the expansion was directed despite the company making false claims about its savings through revenue assurance in the downstream sector. The GRA had backed SML's initial claim that it saved Ghana more than 3 billion cedis. The GRA backing comes despite the MD of the company, Christian Soti, denying the company saved the state that much.
That's why that 3 billion, I'm not. That's why I told you from the beginning. I said I don't know about this 3 billion.
We cannot say your intervention saved 3 billion.
No, I said 3 billion. I'm not. I've told you that I'm not aware, because when we were told about the publication, we even called the.
As we speak this morning, still on your website.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. In fact, to be honest, I don't even know website matter.
Within SML itself, there are contradictions on this subject of the 3 billion cedi savings. This week, head of IT, Prince Sapong, contradicted publicly his boss.
So in estimate, what actually happened with the 3 billion is, as I talked about, the money is all about the volumes. So if there's an increase in volume, there's an increase in revenue. And since SML started operation, we can confidently say that there has been an average monthly increase of 100 million liters. So if you multiply it by 24 months, with the tax component that we are not even using the 1.74, we are using the old tax component, which is 1.44, that will arrive at the 3 billion that we talked about.
This current position of the head of IT contradicts his own earlier assertions when the Fourth Estate first put the question to himself and his boss during the investigations.
What we did was not even the accurate figure. We never talked about accuracy because we are not GRA. Only GRA can give you accurate figure.
So when we are talking about this, it depends on how it was reported. So it didn't, no one actually said that we actually generated as like accurate. Yes. So they said there's a caption by a journalist.
The GRA claims in this statement that SML is only paid if there is value addition. However, the contract specifies that SML is not required to add value to the upstream petroleum and gold sectors. It will be paid as long as production takes place, receiving 0.75 cents per barrel of the 160,000 barrels of oil Ghana produces daily. Additionally, SML will receive 0.75% of the total gold production, amounting to about $50 million annually, based on 2022 gold production figures. The GRA claims they signed a 5-year contract, but the Fourth Estate says the contract they referred to had a 10-year agreement and may have been updated. Listen to lead investigator Manasseh Azuri-Awuni.
Some documents which I'm also sharing. I think page 13 of the 54-page contract mentioned 10 years. If they have reviewed it to 5 years, we requested documents officially from them. They have not responded to us. But if they have reviewed it, it doesn't change the fact that for the next 5 years, SML will be making more than $100 million.
These inconsistencies, among others, between the GRA, SML, and the contract documents raise concerns about value for money and transparency, increasing public pressure on authorities to clarify.
Now, 4 more individuals have been shot in Odomi Chalat in Kwantan Oti region following the shooting to death of 1 person yesterday in renewed clashes. The 4 victims are believed to be head porters who were loading a truck with gari when the incident happened. This latest one occurred barely 24 hours after another person was shot and killed in the area. At least 12 persons have been killed in the ongoing conflict, believed to be related to land and chieftaincy issues. This fresh killings comes just days after the chairman of the Municipal Security Council, Bright Lenwa, announced plans to tighten security in response to what he described as fresh twist to the conflict. Listen to truck driver and one of the head porters narrate to JoyNews what really happened.
We were attacked at gunpoint. 4 persons on board my truck suffered gunshot wounds, including my assistant. There were about 25 of us who had gone to load bags of gari from the community. I cannot identify the assailants.
We were chased at gunpoint, so we asked the driver to speed up. We need to pray for the 2 out of the 4 persons who suffered gunshot wounds.
Now, the Africa Center for Energy Policy, ACEP, is predicting a further accumulation of debts in the energy sector this year, warning the situation will be dire as both the gold and the oil reserves are not capable of offsetting the debts accrued so far. Its executive director, Ben Boache, attributes the situation to the poorly negotiated power deals and the failure of state-owned enterprises to settle outstanding debts to creditors. Mr. Boache, however, notes that the only available option may be to consider sacrificing the budget to pay independent power producers to mitigate a potential power crisis. He has also indicated that consumers will have to psych their minds up to pay more for power supply if the efficiencies in the sector are not fixed.
There are some of the lousy decisions that are going on in the power sector that makes our situation much more precarious for 2024. But the reality is that we're going to rack up more debt. We're going to have to sacrifice the budget as IPPs cough. And my worry essentially is that the state-owned enterprises and entities in the space are going to really, really struggle. And the implication, if we are not careful, could be much more dire. Because you have the likes of Gridco, who depend solely on revenues from ECG, and they are not getting paid. If they don't get paid to maintain the grid infrastructure and the grid goes off, everybody loses power. And if they lose power, the sad part is that we're still going to pay for that power because the IPPs are committed on a long-term take-or-pay basis. So we have to pay them whether you need them or not. The VRA is not going to get money. They will make money from their own sale of power to other businesses, but ECG will continue to underpay them because the IPPs will be needing the money. The IPP payments are over 70% in arrears, month-on-month basis. So that is also going to continue to pile up. But to sum it all up, Kojo, if you look at how we're behaving and how we're treating the energy sector, the reality is that you put our gold revenues together, you put our oil revenues together, and it's not enough to offset the mismanagement of the energy sector. Business as usual, you should expect some adjustment. If we are not willing to fix the inefficiencies, recover revenues from power sold, then the few faithfuls are going to have to pay for it. And that's been the trend. So we waste the energy, people steal the power, and if you are faithful enough to keep paying, then we always come to you to pay more. And that has proven not to be the solution. Just increasing the tariff, and the data shows the more you increase the tariff, the more irresponsible people get. Because if they cannot pay, they are much more enticed to steal the power.
But
and especially
our policy is to do full cost recovery.
Under the IMF program, yes. But they have failed, and the budget even recognizes that we've not been able to deliver on that. And given that it's even an election year where the political appetite is going to crash with the demands of the IMF to actually do cost recovery. If we don't fix the inefficiencies, we will never get to that point where we can say that this is the cost recovery when we are only racking up the tariff on the few faithful ones.
The Chamber of Petroleum Consumers is predicting further falls in the prices of fuel at the pumps in the first quarter of 2024 as the demand for the products globally are relatively lower in the beginning of the year. Some oil marketing companies have cut prices of products at the pumps from the 1st of January, making it the second consecutive time for fuel prices going down. Now, one of the major players, Star Oil, took the lead by selling a litre at 11 cedis, 24 pesos. Now, from the previous 12 cedis, 69 pesos. Executive Secretary for the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers, Duncan Amos, says consumers should anticipate further reductions.
I always advise and maintain that institutions like the bulk oil storage and transportation need to take advantage of seasons as these, where you have international market prices dropping around 600. Within the year, it goes as high as 900 to 1,000, 1,200. If I had the opportunity stock up now, whilst prices are friendly, the possibility of you cashing out maybe after March is high, and boss could probably make some good money if they did. But again, the question of what funds they would also use to hold the stock for the extended period, so that when prices or the price curve was to turn the other way and prices were to start going up, they could ease products onto the market. So it will bring you back to the issue of, the strategic stock margin or account. If there's some funds that governments can advance to them, I'm sure they can hold enough stock now, so that even if you woke up tomorrow and Israel has ramped up their activities within the Middle Eastern bloc, and OPEC is also cutting back on numbers, and the geopolitical developments look as though prices would have to go up, both would have had enough in tank in order to be able to cushion the market at least for some weeks. But as it stands, it looks as though we'll rather be interested in more in buying and selling on the spot. So whatever prices we get this week, we buy and then we put on the market. If next week prices come and they are high or bullish, we also buy and let consumers pay for that. That way, we don't derive the full benefits that boss should have given all Ghanaians.
Economist Professor Akufo Addo is daring government to pay its creditors if indeed it has turned the corner in managing the economy. According to him, inasmuch as government has made some strides in managing the economy, it is not enough to celebrate its achievement. His comments follow recent pronouncements by President that his government has made significant strides in turning the economy.
So there's work for us to do. We recognize that we've made some progress, but it would have been more meaningful if we would be moderate in celebrating our success. Yeah. And this is why I'm saying so. We are still in the midst of negotiating with our creditors. Yeah. So if you are having a cocktail celebration of turning the corner, give creditors money to them.
Thank you.
Okay, you are sitting on the coupons of creditors, over $2 billion. You are having a cocktail. You don't know how they are going to have their Christmas. So let's our actions tell the same story at the negotiation table. Yeah. We are likely to be received favorably by our creditors and the rest of them. Remember that, and maybe one day we can have that conversation. You look at the G20 common framework backed by the IMF, and you see that there's a problem in there. And that is why we are having these challenges with when are we going to agree with our external and the rest of them. Because you look at the DSA and the burden on creditors to bail out Ghana is so huge. We have a role to play. We elected them. We actually don't write an appointment letter for them. They decide how they have to be paid. Of course, committee here and the rest of them. But I think that it's increasingly becoming clearer to even the politicians that our governance is becoming unbearable. That there's an urgent need to save Ghana's democracy from itself. That is different from proposing an alternative. Right? How do we make democracy work for the ordinary Ghanaian? How do we ensure that the democratic dividend trickles down? But you see, we just can't wait. Ghanaians should understand that you merely just can't go and vote once in 4 years during the AGM and sit back and expect that the democratic dividend will trickle down. It will not, because it has not. And there's no evidence that it's going to going forward. So we all have to be active in demanding accountability. To do so, we have to learn to bury our political differences, tribal, whatever. And then we have to learn to pursue the common good.
Interim Minister Ambrose Derry has lauded contribution of Vice President Dr. Mahama in the constant reduction of inflation, stability of the cedi against major currencies, and above all, reducing corruption. Speaking at an annual party held for constituents at Kogligu, Ambrose Derry noted that the Vice President had demonstrated that he is capable of leading the country to prosperity.
Interior Minister Ambrose Derry averred that the Nandam constituency under his reign as a member of parliament of the area has given a facelift to roads in the area which hitherto were in deplorable conditions but has now been opened up, increasing the economic well-being of the people.
Well, Nandam development has been really fast, and you agree with me. You are journalists who have been working here, and this village you have come to. You have come to this village a number of times. You could not access this village in the rainy season, especially from Hamley or from the Nandam direction, because there will be floods. You could not come through. Culverts. Now you have bridges. It's tarred all around. Now the road has been tarred. When I was regional minister, it was from Naduli coming through Laura. It came, it's tarred. We've moved it from Laura into Nandam to Hamley. That's the highway. Now you come into Nandam. When the president was sworn in 2017, he came here and cut the sword for urban roads, and you would agree with me that most of the roads in Nandam have been tarred. They have not just been tarred, but drainage systems are being worked on, and it's ongoing now, to the extent that, apart from what we are doing, we've had a variation of the project to get 8 kilometers from Brutu into Lambuse. You see that beginning to clear the roads.
Ambrose Derry also spoke on the provision of potable water, electricity, and support for women.
We have several water projects all over the place, and we are still working. We are working hard to make sure we get more water points. Electrification, I believe we have almost covered all the communities. In this year's budget, we are provided for rural electrification, and we are going to use the budget to complete ongoing projects and make sure that every community in the Nandon municipality is covered. You also realize that we now have a bank, ADB Bank. Nandon was served by a rural bank, who did a great job right from its establishment in the early days, but there's a need for financial support for small and medium scale enterprises. And the bank has been open. If you visit it, you see the bank is doing very well and is targeting. I'm especially interested in the women folk who have got these small boxes in the villages where they contribute. If you give our women loans, you are going to empower them. And once our women are empowered, you would have the best economy in our community.
The Nandom legislature urged Ghanaians to vote to retain the MPP and Dr. Alhaji Mahmoud Bawumia as president of the country to continue with the good works of the MPP.
He is a man who has the capacity to improve this country. He's already shown by the digitalization, and that is one way of fighting corruption. And I can give you a few practical examples. Before the digitalization, if a contractor wanted to renew his business documents, he had to go by air or by road to Accra, check into a hotel, go to the ministry. Difficult to find a director. He finds someone down there. He needs to grease the person's arms. Now, thanks to digitalization, he's paid online. His license is issued online. So corruption in that area eliminated.
Reporting for JoyNews, Rafik Salam, Kokolibu.
And the flag bearer of the National Democratic Congress, John Dramani Mahama, has assured electorates of redemption for the country if voted back into power. Nana Yaujima has more in this report.
To meaning, the origin of the noun Savior is traced to the Bible, in which Matthew chapter 1 verse 21 speaks of the first coming of Jesus Christ. It reads,
"She will give birth to a son, and you are to give him the name Jesus, because he will save his people from sins."
After this prophecy was fulfilled, another promise of the second coming of the Savior is made in John chapter 14 verse 3, assuring to deliver his people from bondage.
"And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you unto myself, that where I am, there ye may be also."
The story of the biblical Savior is likened to that of John Mahama's second shot at the presidency, and this is how supporters of the NDC tell the story. Between 2012 and 2016, John Mahama was granted a 4-year mandate to lead the country. Here are the accounts the former president gives on his service to the nation.
And then inflation and almost 40%.
As we speak, inflation is around 40%. In 2016, when we left office, inflation was around 12%. The country's debt was 120 billion cedis. That's from independence till I left office. Today, it has increased to 600 billion. If we are to share the debt among the population, each individual would have to pay 4,000 Ghana cedis, but now it has increased to 20,000 Ghana cedis.
And there's 600 billion. You can say, yeah, check on no Biafra and baby qua. Yeah, now they can almost 20,000 cedis. Obia abofra ya won and also they cut 20,000 cedis.
However, John Mahama was voted out of office for non-performance. The call for a second term is gaining ground as the former president tours the country to seek concerns of the public for a 2024 party manifesto. Here are some firm believers of the John Mahama candidature.
Apart from Mahama, you need savior baby. We need free. You need savior baby.
John Mahama is our savior after Jesus Christ. If he doesn't come to help, then we are dead.
Papa, dear. Mrs. Amajigan, dear, Mahama, nay, savior, to say 2012. Mahama by.
He came to office in 2012 and exited in 2016. Things have deteriorated after his exit. We need him back into office to help.
The savior tag is being accepted by the former president as he attempts a comeback into office. The NDC flag bearer has continuously described the NPP government's performance as abysmal. He believes the country has run into a ditch and in need of an experienced hand to salvage the situation.
And obiesu and no my ding. Your boss no VIP ayede echo akwentu no akoto ditchmu.
Today, we are all crying. Things are tough. The bus in which we are traveling has fallen into a ditch, and we have to join hands to bring it back on the road. If you take a look at the political parties in the country, the most development-oriented party is the NDC.
I just say, Emrebia, Samanyo Kono Betnasi, Timihu say, Empuntu Oba, Emagana Koninim, Sa Amanyo Kono NDC.
To him, a second coming of his government is a redemption for the country.
Nyameka chere se obesuma ajenkwa no abeji yankwa me Kristo di minim se sa ajenkwa no Yesu Kristo. And so minim se nyame hu Ghana mobo.
God promised a savior. I am a Christian and I know Jesus Christ is the one. But I know God has shown us mercy. So before the second coming of Christ, there will be a predecessor to save Ghanaians from bondage. That person is an experienced individual with knowledge to help. I know that savior is John Dramani Mahama and the NDC party.
Hey, nipa what's name no? If you say baby I am my edru no. Experience any ahwehwe. Enti menim se saaje kwa no nyame adumunti John Dramani Mahama any NDC amanyoko.
Christians are certain of a return of their savior, but the NDC's savior can only return if the electorate vote him in 2024.
For JoyNews, Nanaya Ojima reporting.
Now, passengers seeking to commute from Accra to the Ashanti, Bono East and Western regions on Tuesday were left stranded following shortage of coaches at the major transport terminals. Some operators also explored the situation by inflating fares. Stanley Neeblew's report read to you. The transport situation after the Yuletide season has deteriorated. Commuters who traveled to Accra for the Yuletide were stranded at lorry stations in an attempt to go back home. Almost all the major transport terminals were characterized by frustrations aggravated by long queues. Some transport operators were helpless. Portia fears she might lose her job if the situation persists. She had already spent 5 hours at the Owa bus terminal before the JoyNews team met her.
It was yesterday that I planned of going, but when I came, the situation was worse, and I went home. But today, I'm waiting until I get a car. If I didn't get a car, I will sleep around. No one is telling you anything. They are even angry at us and telling us they didn't even tell us or force us to come here. So if you can wait. If you can't, go home. But what I'm going to do at Kumasi too is very important, so I have to wait for the cars.
Others share similar sentiments.
Because of Nake Christmas holiday nusunti. I'm like implant doors no kakra wa run I say. By area I will move ebeko.
I wanted to take my ticket in the morning. That was 7 a.m. But I studied the queue and realized I can't do it. So I had to go back and come back in the afternoon. So I came here around 1 o'clock and I just got mine. I came to Accra here on that was just yesterday. and the fare was 120 cedis. But as I'm talking with you right now, it is 140 cedis. Yeah, a difference of 20 Ghana cedis. If I don't pay, there wouldn't be any transportation for me.
At the VIP transport terminal, the situation is no different, even though 185 coaches had been loaded and left scale. Adakabre Frimpong Manso is the manager.
The numbers have come in today a bit surprising, from just about 5 a.m. up to the 5 p.m. that I speak. The 12-hour cycle has given us close to 185 coaches, and it's still counting. And we are doing our best. We will continue to run the 24-hour cycle, ensuring that nobody is left here stranded, and ensuring that we can get them going. And then we have a special service for lactating mothers, for the aged, for the security services, where we give them a kind of a preferential treatment. So these are the ethical side of the business that we are doing. So nobody will be left behind, and VOIP will continue to cut everybody. By 7 a.m. tomorrow, where the next shift also comes in, there will still be people and the buses will be moving.
He is confident of solving the transport situation by tomorrow, January 3. And that's how we conclude news on the AM show. We'll take a break. We'll be right back with News Review with Dr. Asa Asante.